Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Aquaponics World. The two baby squashes did not make it. Neither one of those guys made it. This guy obviously is still doing really well, and I have a hypothesis about this. I did purchase this plant originally about a year and a half ago with a pretty good root system. It was in a pot with soil. So I'm thinking that possibly the fact that they're just baby squash coming out of seeds, they're not ready for this type of environment. So I did purchase some root wool, and hopefully I can get some squash grown a little bit before I switch them over to the aquaponics system. My goal is to get the roots, grown to a bigger size. So I bought a 6-inch by 6-inch block of rock wool, which I will be trying to get the plant to grow in. Obviously, I'll be using a different system than this because I feel like they probably need more oxygen, different type of fertilizer. I'm not too sure what all was the problem with this system right here, but it wasn't good for the little babies. So I'm going to try it again. But eventually, hopefully, I can get it to where I can get the ammonia out of this water so that I can put it back into the fish tank. So today I'm going to be doing a quarter water change out. I'm going to be replacing this water with some of this dirty fish water, and I'll be continuing on growing this plant, which it's growing really well without any fertilizer, without any bubblers, basically a Kratky system. The only difference between this and the Kratky system is that I'm not using any kind of mesh cups, no clay balls, no medium whatsoever, except for hanging it from the ceiling so that it will keep the plant out of the water and the roots in the water. So I'll continue on doing that. Seems to be working pretty well for this bigger plant, and hopefully if I get the seedlings going, get them a little bit bigger, I can get them into this system as well. My main goal for doing this type of a system is so that I can, be doing aquaponics, so that I can be using the dirty fish water to feed the plants, and hopefully using the plants to remove the ammonia so that I can be recycling the water back and forth. But since it wasn't effective on the babies, I'm thinking maybe it's too high of an ammonia level for them. Not too sure what the problem is, but I am going to be using a hydroponic system and a soilless system. So that is my other goal, is to be able to grow with a soilless system, which I know that's already been done and everything, but I'm trying to transplant them into this process of Kratky, no cup, no pellet system eventually, so that I can do the aquaponics system. Needless to say, I have not done too much research on aquaponics. I'll probably do a little bit more research on the aquaponics just to see if my theory's correct, that my hypothesis is correct, that the babies just can't handle the ammonia. That's my assumption, is the babies can't handle the ammonia because this bigger plant is doing just fine in the aquaponics system. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do a quarter water change out on these guys. I have 25 gallons, I have 25 gallons of water that's been sitting out for a week, so that the chlorine will, so there won't be any chlorine in the water. So I'm going to be taking that water and putting it back into the fish tank once I get this quarter of the water taken out. So when I first started this system, I was growing hydroponically, hadn't gotten the fish tank yet. I was growing this in a 5-gallon tote from the time that I got it. I got it from Lowe's in a pot, took it out of the pot, put it into the water, but I was using a bubbler with bubbler stones to give it oxygen, until I found out a little bit more about the Kratky system and that I didn't need to waste the electricity in the bubblers. And got the fish tank and started using the dirty fish water to feed the plant, took the bubblers out, and then I came up with the idea of hanging it from the ceiling so that I didn't have to use the cups, because the cups can cause the roots to bound up, and I want to grow bigger plants than what they're using those little tiny cups for. So at this point, so far what I've done is basically proven that you don't need any fertilizer, you don't need any cups, no clay pellets, you don't need any bubblers. You can just use fish water, dirty fish water, hang it from the ceiling, and keep the roots in the water and the plant outside of the water. And as long as you have a good root system, your plant will grow just fine. And this is just a regular house plant, so it's not like it's that difficult to grow, but it's definitely was not intended to be grown in water. So I mean, the stalk on it is really hard, and so therefore it can't be in the water. At one point I accidentally let it get into the water, got all soggy, killed off a couple of the leaves, but we've grown those back. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and fill this tote up with some of this dirty fish water, and I'll just take this this hose off of here, put it into the to the tote. I will close off the out valve, open up this service valve, and fill up this 5-gallon tote of water. And this is what I'm going to be using for the plant. And as you can see, the roots fill up, they go at least deep enough to where they're almost touching the bottom. So I could use a deeper bucket. It doesn't necessarily need to be this wide, but I need it to be deeper. But this is what I have for right now, so hopefully these roots will hit the bottom and go that way. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and fill this up, and I'm going to transplant this plant into this water here. And I do that once a week, just so that the plant's getting a fresh batch of fertilizer. And this dirty fish water is a great source of NPK. It doesn't have the micronutrients, so I am adding a tablet of this. It's a small amount of micronutrients, just so that they, so the plant gets the micronutrients it needs. So now that this is full, I'm going to go ahead and shut the service valve off and open this valve back up. And then I can just hang this back up on there. And I'll go ahead and swap this out. So since it's hanging from the ceiling, all I've got to do to transplant it, just take it out of the water and let it hang there. And it just basically hangs from the ceiling just like it does in the pot. I'm going to take this pot, set it down on the ground, and I'll end up dumping this out right now because it's still got too much ammonia. Another thing that I'm going to, hopefully with the rock wool will make it easier to not end up with any kind of soil in there. Every time I do this, I find that there's soil in there. I don't know if it's coming off the plant still after almost 2 years of doing this, but anyways, at some point I want to be able to put this water back into the fish tank once the plant absorbs the ammonia. So I'm going to go ahead and take this down, put this up there, and put the plant back in. Okay, got the new batch of dirty fish water. So all I got to do is just put these roots back into the water, and I don't have to water this plant at all. Just got to make sure that this this stalk here is above the water, which I think it is. I do have to raise this up every now and then. It looks like it came out. Just a little bit of this tape. But yeah, I do have to raise this up a little bit. I think the water level on this is a little bit higher, but every now and then this will get a little bit taller, and so I have to raise the string up in order to keep it out of the water. But the main goal is just to keep this stock right here out of the water. That's about the level that I want the water at, just above the roots, just below the plant. So like I said, I've already taken out 5 gallons. I've taken out 5 gallons of water and used it for the plant. And I believe that these were 25-gallon fish tanks. So I'm trying to take out as much water as I can right now. I wish I'd have filled up both of these because I would have liked to have done more of a water change. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and take out at least, you know what, I'll just do a quarter water change out. So I'm gonna be measuring the water because these are 5-gallon totes. So I guess I'll just be taking out another 5-gallon tote of water to make 10 gallons out. So again, I'll just take the hose off of here, set it into the tote, open up this, or close the out valve, open up the service valve, and I'll be taking out 10 gallons total, and I will probably only be using about half of that water there, which means I'm going to go ahead and dump that water, the rest of that water out. I don't want to keep it for more than a week because it starts getting nasty pretty quickly. But yeah, that's about that. Okay, so now that that's full, I can go ahead and shut off that service valve and reopen the out valve to the fish tank. And that will be a quarter of the water taken out. And as I recall, I believe, I'll have to check my other videos, but I believe this is my 3rd week of doing water change outs. So my next week will be my 4th week of doing a water change out, and so that will have been a month. I'm not too sure if I'm going to do on the 4th week or the 5th week where I'm going to do the where I'm going to be replacing the carbon pad, but after a month I need to replace one of these carbon pads. So I just reviewed my videos from the past and on YouTube here, and it was a month ago. It's been a month since I've done any maintenance on the pump. So I am going to be doing a little bit of maintenance on the pump. I'm going to be replacing one of these, and a lot of people say, oh, they're just trying to sell you stuff, whatever. I'm going to follow the instructions on the flue valve maintenance. So monthly, you got to check and clean the mechanical foam, and let's see, I don't have any mechanical foam, so I don't really need to worry about that. I need to rinse the Biomax. So this is the Biomax. I'm going to be opening this up and rinsing that off, and I need to replace the carbon pad and check and clean the canister inside. First, I'm going to clean this glass, and I did hear that it can be bad for me to put my hands in there. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands. I don't know, I can't tell you. They say, somebody said it's a bad idea for me to be putting my hands in the fish tank because I can contaminate the fish tank with what's on my hands. And they said to use the little magnet scrubber, which I threw the magnet scrubber away because it was so small. I mean, they're only that big and it takes forever to scrub this thing off, but I guess I'll pick up another one of those and get it next time. But just so you guys know, I did get some advice from some of my followers that suggested not to use my hands, so you may not want to do it this way, but I'm just going to go ahead and clean off all the glass real quick. Okay, so to recap, I've removed 10 gallons of water out of the fish tank, used 5 of it to use for my plants, and dumped 5 out the window. Now I'm going to be going ahead and doing some work on the filter So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to close the in and then close the out valve, because wait, is it that order? I don't remember which order it is. Whatever. In, out, and then I'm going to unplug it. Make sure I got the right plug. Yeah. So I'm going to unplug it. I'm going to disconnect the valves. I'm going to drain it. When I was setting up the flue ball pump when I first got it, they actually have you cut the hoses to length. So, you know, depending on what size your table is, you can cut the hoses just to the right length. So I put the pump on the floor and cut the hoses just to the right length to go from the floor up to the fish tank. But what I didn't realize was that I was going to need to elevate the pump. So the pump has to be below the fish tank, but above whatever it is that you're going to drain it out in. So you need to have the pump elevated and the fish tank elevated from that. But next time I set this up, I'll do it right. But my hoses are already cut now, so I'm not going to recut the hoses. But once you have the valves off and it all unplugged and everything, you can just drain it out like this. And that'll drain all the water out. So it's only a couple of gallons of water that is stored inside the tank, and once you have that drained out, you want to make sure you close your service valve, because once you get it all put back together, you don't want to fill it up and have it start draining out that. But once you get that done, you can just unscrew these screws. You can pop the lid off, and I'm going to be rinsing the Biomax and replacing the carbon filter and cleaning the canister. So this is once a month. Once a week I clean the fish tank, do a quarter water change out. Once a month I clean the canister and the Biomax and replace the filter. Once you have all the screws off, this just pops right out. And you'll notice that this hose, this is the inlet. The in water goes down to the bottom inside there, and the out, this one here, doesn't have that pipe. But you know, this won't fit in here. It'll only fit in this side, so there's only one way that it can go back together. I'm going to go ahead and wash this off. And when I say I'm going to replace the filter, I don't mean these sponges. I'm not going to be cleaning these sponges or doing anything with those sponges. Those sponges are beneficial bacteria, so those will stay. But for the monthly thing, I'm going to be rinsing these off and cleaning the canister out, so I need to take all this up. So I am going to have to use a little bit of this dechlorinated water right here to clean my canister and to clean my Biomax with. Unfortunately, I may not have enough water here to fill up my tank, but this is why I have two of these 25-gallon totes, but that's okay. Just go ahead and use what I can. Use as little of it as I can to clean this stuff off. So I'm just gonna take these red things out, the red cups that hold the Biomax in them, out. So I'm just gonna rinse these off and put them right back in and reuse them. I'm not gonna be throwing these away and replacing them today. Just rinsing these off. And putting them right back in. And then I'm not going to be, let's see, where, interesting. Mechanical foam. I wonder if this is the mechanical, no, this is the carbon pad that I'm going to be replacing. So I'm going to be replacing this pad. So yeah, so I'm going to be replacing the carbon filter with the new carbon filter. I'll rinse that off in some dechlorinated water first. And somebody had mentioned that there's 2 handles here to pull this whole thing up, and yes, I'm aware of that. I'm recording with one hand, so you'll see it come out. You know, I've struggled with it trying to show you how to do it, but you just grab these 2 handles and this whole thing comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and separate it. These I'm not going to do anything with, so I'm going to be taking those out just to clean the canister. Okay, so I took that out, and now these pop over to the side here, and you can separate the 2 sections here. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And you know what? Actually, I don't need to. Oh yeah, there's some Biomax in here. So we're just going to take this Biomax out and rinse it off. And I'll just rinse that off and put it right back in. I'm just going to reuse it. But during this process, you don't want to just use straight tap water. You want to use dechlorinated water, or at least some dirty fish water to clean this with. So I'm just going to rinse this stuff off and put this Biomax right back in. I don't know if I'm not making it dirtier than it was. Just throw that right back in there. But I just don't want to have it be like where it's not functioning at all because it's so plugged up, right? So you got to do a little bit of maintenance. You don't want to get rid of your beneficial bacteria, but at the same time, you got to do a little bit of maintenance here. So yeah, so then I'll just take a little bit, I'll dump this out, take a little bit more of that clean dechlorinated water and rinse the new pad off. So all I need is just a little bit of that dechlorinated water just to rinse this off a little bit, get the dust off of it, whatever's on it from shipping. Nothing too drastic. And this will go back in here like this. And this guy over here will go back in here like this. And then this one here will go back in here like that. This will go back on top. Like that. Something like that. So now, as you can see, there's still plenty of beneficial bacteria, grossness on this on these sponges here, and those are the biofoam, right? So the biofoam is that thick sponge, the thick black sponge, and these sponges here. So those are every 3 months. I'm going to check and clean those. Right, so not going to be replacing that so that I can keep the beneficial bacteria. I get a lot of people saying you're not supposed to clean those because those are beneficial bacteria. I'm aware of that, so that's why I only do those every 3 months, but I'm just replacing that carbon pad once a month. And now I'm going to use some of the dechlorinated water to clean this canister out. Okay, so that's all there is to that. Now I'm just going to put this back in there. I just realized that I'm going to use just a little bit more of this water.
just to rinse off this lid. That's pretty nasty. It's got some kind of white stuff on it. But anyways, nothing too much detailed as far as the cleaning is concerned. But this is a once a month cleaning, and you do want to maintain your canister because this is what makes it all work. And then obviously the in goes in back into that hole, and it just goes back together just like that. And I'm gonna snap these snaps back. Sorry, I almost forgot. I gotta keep this off for one more second. I'm gonna have to add 2.5 gallons of water back into this just to prime the tank again. So it doesn't really make much difference where you get the water from, whether it's from the fish tank or from your clean water, but you got to prime the tank. So you got to put 2.5 gallons of water back in there before you close it all up. Basically, you know, just got to fill it up with water before you close it back up and hook it back up. And then I'm just going to plug it back in and get it running again. Yeah, so now that the water level is full, now I'm going to put the lid back on. And you just got to line these inlets and outlets back up, and then you can just snap this all back together, reattach the inlet and the outlet valve hoses, and plug her back in, and open up the in and out valves, and it should start running again. So I had an idea while I was doing this. Like I said, I bought some rock wool. I'm waiting for it to get shipped to me. They don't sell it at the PetSmart near me, and we don't have a hydroponics store right near me, so I just ordered it online. And I got the 6" by 6" block and some pods, and I know I'm gonna have to change the pH on it and everything, because I don't know why they send you a rock wool that's a pH that you can't grow in. But anyway, I was thinking what I may do is just take some of the dirty fish water and dilute it with some other water, because maybe the ammonia is just way too high in this for the little baby plants. You know, you can't kill them with too much fertilizer, so maybe I'll just use a little dilution process. So I'm going to do 2 tests at the same time, the rock wool and that. So I'll start some seeds now. I'm just going to set this back down in here like this, and then reattach the inlet valve and the outlet valve. You want to make sure you don't turn it around, right? So the in's coming in and the out's coming out. This would be the out, this would be the in. So you want to make sure that your hoses are connected right, in to the in, out to the out. And then I'm just going to plug her back in. And open up the valves. Get her started back up, and she'll run for a few minutes, then she'll shut off for a few minutes, and then she'll start back up and continue running. And I'm gonna add some more water in. Well, it did it again. I don't know, this is twice now. It's just filling the tank full of crap. I don't know why it does that. I guess I'm gonna have to clean the intake and the outtake when I do this. It doesn't say you have to do that but every 3 months, but no, this is not okay. So I'm gonna have to use my net and scoop out as much of this crap as I can. Oh, I can't believe it did that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be doing this for a little bit. Well, I'm starting to get it cleared out, but now the intake is all covered with stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it back off. And unplug it again. And then I'm gonna detach the intake strainer and clean the intake strainer off. Because this is just too much. I cannot believe it. You know, that's what I get for cleaning my fish tank. It got way dirtier. Ah. I get one suction cup unstuck and the other one comes off. Okay. So anyways, so you unstick it and then you can separate it from the stem. Okay, so in taking the intake strainer off, I basically detached all the stuff that was stuck to the side of it and it went back into the fish tank. But anyway, I'm gonna plug this back in. Open this back up, open this back up. And get it started again. And I guess I'm just gonna keep trying to get all this stuff to suck into the intake. And hopefully I can clarify some of this water a little bit. I'm so glad I cleaned my fish tank. Anyway, so while I'm waiting for that to clarify a little bit, I am gonna go ahead and start another seed for my test of diluted dirty fish water. So there isn't as much ammonia. So these are those peat pellets that you can purchase. So I'm just gonna set that in there, fill it up with water up to the top, let this swell up. It gets to be about that tall. I'm gonna take the wrapper off the outside of it. I'm gonna put a couple of seeds in there, some squash seeds in there, put the lid on it and let it sit there under a blanket and let it sit there for a few days and germinate. So yeah, so you just fill this up with water, drop your little pot in there and it's already starting to swell up a little bit. You just leave that in there until it's about that high and then you peel the paper off of it, you stick your seeds in there, put your plastic cover on it. Some people have a heating tray that they put underneath it. It just needs to stay in a dark, warm place. So I'm gonna put a blanket over the top of it so it's not getting any light, it's not getting too cold, it stays nice and warm. And eventually it will just germinate all by itself. You don't have to add any water. You know, first I'm gonna drain this water out, obviously, but you know, I just use it full of water to make this swell up a little bit. Okay, so it doesn't take very long, and what it does is it swells up to almost the size of this container, which is, you know, the container is about an inch thick, an inch deep, so it swells up to about an inch deep. And then all you got to do is just take the wrapper off. There's a little bit of paper on the outside of it, just to kind of hold it all together. And you just take that wrapper off of there and throw that out. But see, the thing is that eventually, I mean, I'm gonna do the rock wool too, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have, you know, a good root system to try to put it into the aquaponics system. But I also want to try to dilute the dirty fish water and see if I can't feed the babies. So once you take the paper off, see, it comes with this paper. Once you take that paper off, then you just dump the water out and set it back in there and put the lid on it, cover it up, and it'll grow. Put the seeds in it and it'll grow. So once you drain the water out, you got your paper off of there, you've gotten it all swollen up by letting it soak, then you just set it in there into the container. And I'm going to be using these summer squash seeds, and you can stick, you know, 2 or 3 of them in there. It doesn't make any difference. You can just put one, it doesn't make any difference. I want to make sure that something grows today, so I'm going to stick 3 of them in there. But you just want to stick them in deep enough to where they're covered up, and You know, they say the bigger the seed, the deeper you got to put them. So, but these summer squash are not big seeds. So as long as they're in the peat moss, they'll be fine. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and cover them up a little bit. So you just cover up the seeds just a little bit. They don't need to be too deep. If they were bigger seeds for some other type of plant, it would need to be like a knuckle deep, but these are fine for the summer squash. So once you get it covered up inside there, then you just take your cover, you set it on the top. You don't have to add any water to it. It stays pretty moist. I mean, you can check on it, but I haven't had to add water to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover that up with something, you know, like take a little blanket or something like that and just cover it so that it doesn't get light on it and so that it stays warm, and let it sit for a few days, and it'll grow some sprouts out of it. And then I'm going to swap it over into the aquaponics system, but this time I'm going to use a little bit of the diluted fish water. Well, it's clarified a little bit. All those chunks have gotten sucked into the intake filter, into the intake strainer, and that's exactly what this pump does, is it removes any kind of physical material that's in there. But now it's time to fill the fish tank back up with some good clean water. And because you got the fluid wall pump, it makes it really easy. Just take the strainer off. I mean the service valve off, service hose, whatever you want to call it. And you just close off the end and open up that service valve, and that will suck the water from there and put it into the fish tank for you until it's full. And hopefully I got enough to fill it up. If not, oh well. Okay, so even though it didn't completely fill it up, kind of like I figured it wouldn't, it's a couple inches off. I don't want to suck in any air, and I'm getting down to the bottom of the water here, so I'm going to go ahead and shut off the service valve and reopen the end valve and dump this water out. But that is the once a month cleaning. You know, you just got to clean your canister and replace your carbon filter. You got to rinse off the Biomax. But that's about the extent of the 1 month cleaning. It's not too bad. Nothing too harsh. And hopefully I'll have some squash seeds. I'm thinking I'll probably get another tomato plant from the store. And pop that in here. I almost forgot, I gotta put my my little tablet in there. And I think I'm gonna start putting the dates that I actually do the videos, because I've been putting the dates that I'm uploading them. And I want to say it's only been like 3 weeks since I did the last filter change, but it said it was a month ago. May have been the date that I posted it. So anyway, just gonna drop that in there for the micronutrients. But like I said, this guy's doing really good. Nice dark green color, huge growth in just a couple of days. 2 more new leaves coming out. Root structure's huge, and that's without any air, without any cups, nothing. So I'm really happy with that. That's no fertilizer, just this dirty fish water. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lids back on, put my light back up. And again, I'm just using the light because we're doing it indoors. Once I get this going outdoors, I won't need the lights. And actually, I could probably take this guy outside right now. He'd probably be really happy to get some outside light, and that way I could save some electricity. That's probably what I'll do. I'll probably take this guy outside. But anyways, I'm gonna put the lids back on. And that will be about it for this week's video. We did the quarter water change out, which is a weekly thing. We scrubbed off the inside of the fish tank, weekly thing. Replaced the carbon filter, cleaned the canister, cleaned the Biomax, which is a monthly thing. And I will be posting a video every week, so you can look forward to seeing some more. Hopefully I'll have some squash growing again. So yeah, so I'm going to be taking this guy outside. I'm going to go get a
like a plant hanger thing that stakes into the ground so that I can hang the string up from it. And I'm gonna fill it all the way up to the top. So, you know, I mean, if it rains, it's just gonna overflow, and hopefully I won't lose too much fertilizer that way. But that way the plant will be all the way at the top. You know, the plant will be above the lid, I mean above the top of the bucket, and the roots will be below the bucket, but it'll never get fuller than this. And yeah, I'm trying to grow some more squash seeds, so hopefully those will come in, and I might just get another tomato plant to pop in this too. But the fishies are all happy, and I'm gonna give them some lunch right now, even though they just ate a whole bunch of that nasty stuff that just came out of the pipes when I turned it on. I think I need to clean the hoses whenever I take apart the filter. I think that's probably why it's just pumping out a bunch of chunks of stuff, but it doesn't take long for it to clarify itself. It's cool. But I appreciate you guys watching. Please follow, subscribe. I say follow because I'm also on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram under Tim Garrow. But please subscribe on here. Share Aquaponics World with your friends. And you know, this is what I'm working on, is this hanging Kratky system with no cups and no clay pellets, no bubblers, no fertilizer. And I've made a few videos on the shortage of food, the shortage of farming land, the cost of food that's going up, and how important it is to learn how to grow like this so that you'll be able to feed your family when the prices of food get so out of hand that you can't afford to eat anymore. I mean, we're talking about mass famine coming in the next 40 years, so just prepare yourselves and spread the love, spread the word, save the soil. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe, hit the notification. I'll be doing these once a week. I'll be updating stuff, and have a really great day, guys.